Let's review dependent and independent variables on graphs. Remember from earlier that the dependent variable was on the y-axis of a graph. This is the dependent variable. And on the x-axis, we have the independent variable. So the variable on the y-axis depends on the variable on the x-axis. So for example here, we have the plant height of a plant being graphed against the amount of fertilizer that it's given. And you can see that the plant height depends on the amount of fertilizer it's given. According to this graph, the more fertilizer it's given, the higher it tends to grow. The reason we want to review this is because if a situation hasn't been graphed yet, we might have to figure out what the variables are going to be for ourselves. So first, we're going to identify the variables in a problem or in a situation, and then we're going to try saying blank depends on blank in both possible ways. So does one variable depend on the other, or is it the other way around? Let's do an example so that you can see what I mean. So we have a candle that is lit and its height is measured at different times. So what are the two variables? Well, it's what's being measured. So the height is one thing, and the other one is that we're measuring it at different times. So the height is being compared to the time that the candle has been burning for. So which one is dependent and which one is independent? Well, does the height depend on the amount of time the candle has been burning, or does the amount of time that the candle has been burning depend on the height of the candle? And I think by saying that out loud, the two different ways, we can see that it's the height which depends on the time the candle has been burning. The amount of time that the candle has been burning has nothing to do with anything besides when you decided to light it. So it's independent of everything else that's happening. Time, when it's in a problem, is often independent. Not always, but quite often. And so this one is independent. So we can go ahead and fill in the dependent variable is height of the candle, and the independent one is time, or the amount of time the candle has been burning. Let's do one more example. Ocean scientists use a device to measure the temperature of a lake at different depths. What are the dependent and independent variables? So first of all, we see that they're measuring the temperature, so that's one of the variables. And they're measuring the temperature at different depths. So temperature and depth are our two variables. So let's try running through this out loud. Does the temperature depend on different depths in the lake? Or do the different depths of the lake depend on the temperature of the water? Hopefully we can see that really only one of those makes sense, which is that the temperature depends on the depth. The temperature of the water is going to depend on how close to the surface or how deep down you are. So the dependent variable is temperature, and the independent variable is depth.